Another opportunity. Let's get tactical. Remixing podcast content. This is one of the best things you can do, folks. If you are on a podcast, if somebody on your team is on a podcast, set up a camera and record them. I know it's going to feel awkward at first, but do it. You have to do it. Video is so important these days. People connect with people. And if you can create content with a person showing their face, it's gold. And then you take that podcast that might have been an hour and you chop it up into shorter clips, into shorter episodes. If you have a text post that resonates on X or on LinkedIn, repurpose that into a carousel or a slide or a document on different channels. Maybe even turn it into a story for Instagram. If you have data in an ebook that you've produced, don't let it live in that ebook and never be shared again. Isolate it out of that ebook, share it on social as an individual asset, and start to use that to capture more attention, capture more eyeballs on your content. If you do have blog posts, don't be afraid to repackage those into LinkedIn articles. One other feature on LinkedIn that is blowing up right now is the in-app newsletter. So LinkedIn has their own newsletter functionality where you can create a LinkedIn newsletter and get subscribers on their platform. And every time you press publish on a blog post, you can send that via this newsletter. I encourage it. But I also encourage you to embrace tools like Flowjin. And they didn't ask me to say this, but I used it myself. And you can take podcasts that you are on. I did a podcast with the folks over at AdQuick, Adam Singer, and Chris Gato, and we talked about B2B marketing. And we talked about B2B being how most marketers forget about storytelling. And I uploaded, I think it was a 50-minute video to Flowjin. And in the matter of seconds, it looked at multiple moments within that episode that were what I call money moments, like the best moments of us having a conversation of dialogue. It transcribed it, put captions on it, chopped it up, had chops directly after certain sentences. It was crisp, right? This used to have to go to a video editor who would have to labor intensively, listen, and try to figure this all out. You have tools today like Flowjin that make it super easy, folks. If you're on podcasts, take those podcasts from last year, upload them to Flowjin, press the generate button, make sure you have enough hours and credits, leverage that, and then start distributing that content like wildfire. Folks, you create value once and you distribute it forever. With tools like Flowjin, I am literally now going to be able to look at all of the videos, all of the interviews that I've done over the last 3 years and just start popping them in. And in the matter of minutes, get tons and tons of little clips that I can schedule to be shared on my social accounts. And the great thing is, the people who followed me in 2023 that didn't see that interview that I did with Morning Brew are going to see clips for the first time today. And the ideas will still be just as good. Create once, distribute forever. Doesn't end there, though. Sponsor Substacks. Find local newsletters. If you can find them when they are on the rise, early in their career, let's say they have sub 2,000 subscribers. If you can be the first money in, if you can sponsor it before everybody else, you can get grandfathered into an amazing price point that will give you the ability to reach your audience long-term with a very reasonable price point. And you can do the research here with good old-fashioned Google research, right? Like if I'm trying to target CTOs, right, chief technology officers, what could I do? How would I find where they spend time, Ross? This sounds so hard. It doesn't have to be. Go to Google, type in newsletter and CTO, and you'll find a bunch of newsletters that are targeting towards CTOs, right? That's it. That's the playbook. That's the methodology. It's very straightforward. Create once, distribute forever, right? You do that and you will win. This is one of my favorite analogies. It's the idea that we as marketers, we as creators need to view content like an investment, right? And every investment you make has different levels of risk and has different levels of return. If you create a thought leadership piece that changes your industry, the returns can be ridiculous. We wrote a blog post about Canva's backlink empire, about Masterclass, probably 3 years ago. And those pieces of content have generated for Foundation multi-million dollars worth of business, right? All because we created high value thought leadership content. So at the same time, we've also created some that have been a flop, right? That have generated no love, no engagement, no results. And that gives you a sense that, like, yes, sometimes you're going to have an investment that hits, but sometimes it's not. And I think that's okay. That is completely okay. All right. Create once, distribute forever. I want to talk quickly around that system and how you should be thinking about it. So upfront, you want to prepare. You want to prepare for how you are going to operate when your content goes live, right? You need to think about your own channels. You need to think about the channels that you own, like your email list, your social media accounts, your website. Like, do you want to put a banner on your site? Can you tap into your own sales team and have them distribute things? Those are your owned opportunities. And then you think of your high growth opportunities, right? How can we distribute this across influencers or groups or things like that? And then typically what happens, not going to lie, that's when it ends. Most people end right there. What I want to encourage you to do, though, is embrace a new model that is rooted in these ideas, where after you press publish, you do all of the stuff on your primary, but you also tap into communities. And then you say to yourself, we're going to maintain momentum by sharing this into Reddit, by sharing this in Slack channels where our communities are spending time. We're going to share this on our Instagram. We're going to repurpose this as well. We're going to reshare the video assets. We're going to share the same link to the blog post. We're going to put up the exact same thing, but we're going to do it at 2 a.m. because people are online at 2 a.m. that aren't the same as the people at 4 p.m. And then you're going to retweet original posts, reshare original posts, and you're going to measure it for the rest of the year. 6 months later, you're doing the same thing. You do not let pieces of content live and die. And yes, folks, I am not saying that you shouldn't blog. Turn those blog posts into other things, right? Take a blog post from your website, turn it into a LinkedIn article, take that LinkedIn article, turn it into a YouTube video, and then embed that YouTube video into the article that you created on LinkedIn. It's all very meta, but it is all very powerful. Plan your distribution engine in advance of creating, right? Think of the story that you want to tell. Think about how it can be dispersed into different things. Press publish on them, repurpose those things, share them. You can go to AI and you can say, here are a bunch of my greatest tweets. Write 75 more for me. Get those to export into a spreadsheet. You always say please to your AIs because you don't want them to come back and get you. Once you get that spreadsheet, you can upload it to a tool like Canva. It's going to automatically, if you use their automation tool within Canva, you can set it up so the quote from the Excel spreadsheet that ChatGPT created is going to show up there and the handle is going to show there. You can say, I look at that picture and I'm like, that looks weak. I need something better. You find a picture like this. You're like, that looks pretty cool. But let's say you're me and you're like, hey, I want them to have some melanin. You can go into Midjourney and you can say, I want you to create this, but make them look a little bit different. You get a bunch of pictures like this. Cool. They look more like me. You start to schedule that content out with the quote, with the handle, with the new imagery. And it takes you 20 minutes to create a bunch of posts. Right? You share those on social and you can see 30 followers in 18 minutes or 18,000 impressions in 20 minutes, right? Create once, distribute forever.